And talk about another earnings candidate, and that is Marico. Look at the stock. We saw a sharp up move coming in the stock. In terms of numbers, there were an inline set of numbers which came in from the company, but they've given a guidance in terms of the gross margins, where they're expecting a 200 basis point to 250 basis point expansion in terms of gross margins. Also, they're expecting that to turn down in terms of EBITDA margins as well, and we'll see around 100 basis point expansion in terms of EBITDA margins going forward. And that's why we're seeing some of the brokerages, they are maintaining an overweight rating on Marico, given a target price of 582 rupees per share. And let's keep an eye out on that as well. Right now, we are joined by Mr. Saugata Gupta, the Managing Director and CEO at Marico, to talk more about their numbers. Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta, for joining in with us this afternoon. And obviously, the first question that we're going to be asking about is the concerns that we have around rural demand. What is the commentary and demand trend that you're actually seeing in terms of coming in for rural demand? Is this still sluggish? Q4 is a bit sluggish, but Q1, how is that looking like? Any signs of green shoots, recovery there?
If you look at last year, I think there were two factors that drove this softness in rural consumption. Firstly, there was obviously significant food inflation post the Ukraine issue, which led to a lot of input cost increases as well as food costs. And as you know, that whenever there is high food inflation, uh, given that the significant amount of their disposable income goes towards food, people tend to either downgrade or titrate with FMCG. Secondly, I think obviously we had to take the FMCG sector had to take price increases, which led to downgradation, and sometimes there was some shrinkflation. Now, what we have noticed in categories which are highly penetrated and people buy a definitive outlay, whenever there is shrinkflation, you can't make up the number of transactions that leads to volume loss. Now, if I look at it, some of the change events that have happened in rural is that number one, I think the food inflation is under control. Some of the input costs have gone down, so therefore we have passed on some of the benefits to consumers. For example, we have done in Parachute, we have taken price drops. And thirdly, I think we are also lapping those bases. Anniversarization of some of it is going to get over this year. Because as you know, the Ukraine issue started sometime in Feb, which was last quarter, and therefore, given all these factors, I think the base and all the base, also the softer base, I think the worst as far as rural consumption, this one is over. If you see at Nielsen also quarterly, the declines are, I think, lower. In fact, if you look at HPC categories also, for the first time after a couple of quarters, there is some growth, marginal growth. And therefore, I think the worst is over. The improvement will be gradual, and we need to also wait and see what happens with the monsoon. But I think there will be certainly improvement.
Right, Mr. Gupta, afternoon. So, given the kind of price drops, I wanted to understand whether or not there's any impact on your realizations.
Way we see it is obviously, I think if I look at annualized, I don't see any impact. There could be some, deflation built into our revenues in the first half, but the second half, as I said, that most of the pricing interventions happened in the first half, and we started taking price drops in the second half. So I don't see any overall full year any deflationary impact this year.
Right. Now, volume growth is at about 4 to 5% in the last few quarters. When do you think we can see it coming back to high single digits?
Right. All I can say is that for an annualized basis, this year will be better than last year, and we need to see how it pans out after that.
Just talk about that prices correction that we've seen in copra prices. Margins are seeing, a recovery there, good expansion in terms of margins, and you've given a guidance also of expecting a good expansion going forward in FY24 as well. Could you talk about some of the levers that will be supporting margins other than in terms of the price correction and raw materials?
Things. One is obviously the input costs, unless there is some other black swan event of volatility, input costs will be significantly better. Number two, I think, as I have indicated, that as we scale up in foods and digital, given the fact that foods has got scale and in digital, the overall environment is soft in terms of marketing spends, this is a great opportunity to focus on the profitability of foods and digital, because as you know that they are now a significant portion of our India business. We have undergone a quite a rapid transformation of our portfolio in the last 3 years. And this is the year we are now focusing on, while growing the business, can we also make it profitable. We are, as you know, compared to some sort of standalone digital businesses, we are a house of brands which offers significant opportunities for synergy, and our burn rate compared to businesses of similar size is far lower. And therefore, I think we know there is a playbook in place to improve both the profitability, and that also will contribute to it. Having said that, even if we get a 200 plus gross margin improvement, as I've indicated, some will get passed on to investing behind the core, because perhaps the core has got a little under investment in the last 3 years as we went about in the transformation, and we will pass on 100 plus bips in terms of margin improvement this year.
And Mr. Gupta, you know, a lot of companies in FMCG side especially have highlighted in terms of downtrading and downgrading. Is that something that the company has seen as well, and in which segments then?
Now we are, as I said, that inflation is under control. We have taken price drops in both Parachute and Saffola, and therefore this entire downtrading has gone out. What has also happened in the value-added hair oil segment, I think there was again unrealistic commoditization, and I'm happy that some of the, there has been competitive price increases in line with input cost increases in last year. So that also ensures that the growth in value-added hair oils is much more broad-based, and it leads to a mix improvement and realization improvement, which is also seen if a continuous value share gain in value-added hair oils.
All right, Mr. Gupta, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining in and giving us a view on the road ahead for Marico. UPL